The genesis of this evening's program began 2 years ago at the International Federation of Jewish Men's Club Convention, when the then president of Conservative Europe invited and challenged the men's clubs of North America to extend their reach to communities around the world, outside the borders of the United States. Our brotherhood, made up of many alpha males, is very competitive and wants to be first and the best. Ron Zick, our president of Temple Israel Brotherhood, is going to tell you more in a minute about how this evolved. But first, some introductions. We're honored tonight to have several guests in our presence. So first, I want to introduce Rabbi Florian Chinsky of both Brussels and Paris. Florian, and in addition, from Buenos Aires, we have Leandro Galanternick, who is a member of the Rabbinical Seminary of Buenos Aires. Where is Leandro? And we have several other distinguished individuals who I will tell you more about as the program evolves. So first, I want to turn over the microphone to my friend and our president of Temple Israel Brotherhood, Ron Zick.
Thank you all for being here. This is, Mark and I were just chatting and said that we were hopeful originally that we would get 50 people. We never imagined that we would fill the room like this. So thank you all for coming on a Saturday night. I have a question for you to start off. Everyone here that can trace their Jewish roots through someone who walked off the Mayflower, please raise your hand. We have one person. The point here is that all of us, everyone in this room, have come from someplace else. Personally, my ancestry is from Hungary, Czechoslovakia. My wife's ancestry comes from the Ukraine, from Poland. The same stories for everyone in this room. It's our responsibility as American Jews to understand that we live in a world of Jews, beyond just Massachusetts, and yes, even beyond just New York, beyond California, and beyond the North American continent. There is a Masorti movement out in the world, Latin America, Europe, and there are Jewish communities out there that are struggling. They're finding their Jewish heritage, they're finding who they are. And tonight is an example of that. And what we hope will be the beginning of a dialogue of our community with this nascent community in Budapest. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on all of our panelists.
No.
Oh, no, you got it.
So I didn't introduce myself. For those who don't know, I'm Mark Kopowski, and I'm lucky enough to be a member of Temple Israel Brotherhood, and of course of this wonderful shul. So tonight, I'm going to I'll be introducing our first speaker, and our first speaker is Dr. Joanna Kubar, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about her story, so I'll just fill you in on a few essential details. She is the president, now in her second year of her term of Masorti Europe, and she has received her doctorate in particle physics, but that wasn't enough. She was apparently bored, so she went back and got her medical degree. So without further ado, I want to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Kubar.
Good evening. If I wanted to spend a few minutes that Mark allocated to me to tell you how moved I am, I would spend all my time. Just to tell you that with the brotherhood of your community and other brotherhoods, other men's club, I spent such a powerful time, inspiring and meaningful. It was really exceptional. And what they are doing here, Ron and Mark and all the brothers, it's really pioneering, and they are inspiration for everybody now. So I will tell you very shortly my story. I was born in Poland, in Warsaw, in 1947. My mother tongue is Polish. I went in Poland to school. I went in Poland to university, and I left Poland in 1968. So with this, immediately we have first series of questions that I will come back to. Where were my parents during the war? It is questions. Were there really Jews who continued to live in Poland after the war? Why did my parents stay in Poland? How did we live in Poland? Was there anti-Semitism in Poland? And finally, what happened in 1968? So I came to France, I married, my sister came to United States with her husband, my mother went to Israel, my father stayed in Poland, the family got scattered. So as Mark said, I completed my studies in France, came to New York for my postdoctoral position, and I came back to France, and now, as Mark said, I am president of Masorti Europe, which is the federation of all Masorti communities in Europe. So the next question is how I became a shulgoer and how I got involved in Masorti. So I will try to answer to these questions. My mother was in Warsaw Ghetto. She escaped, and she were living on Aryan side with false papers. Polish people helped her, and some knew that she was Jewish, some didn't. And the person who helped her the most, my mother, made everything, and she is righteous among the nations. My father was in Russia, in Samarkand. Were there really Jews who continued to live in Poland? Yes, there are several thousand Jews who stay in Poland. And why did my parents stay in Poland and all these people? There were several reasons for different people. My parents were communists. They believed in the society where there will be not anti-Semitism, but everybody will be equal, there will be no injustice, and of course they became very much disappointed. How did we live? We were very privileged. We lived in Warsaw. Most of my friends were Jewish. Most of my parents' friends were Jewish. We went to the best schools. We were going to theater. We had special vacation. We really live well. Was there anti-Semitism in Poland during this time? It was forbidden. Anti-Semitism was forbidden, so there were no manifestations of anti-Semitism. And when Poland ceased to be communist, the true feelings came out. So there was again a lot of manifestations of anti-Semitism, but when I was in Poland, there were really not manifestations. So what happened in 68? 68 was after 67, it means 6-day war, and there was big anti-Zionist, quote, 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 campaign in Poland, which was in fact anti-Semitic campaign, because there were political fights in Poland at this time. So I answered most of the questions, and now how I became a shul goer. I am clearly from a secular family. I didn't know anything about religion, but we were very, very Jewish. When I was in postdoc in New York, I met my cousins, and I was incredibly lucky. My cousin is professor of Jewish Theological Seminary, so my first Shabbatot, my first Sedarim, it was my first Hanukkah was in a fantastic environment. So I went back to Nice, and it took several years. I was reading a lot, but there was no Masorti community. We founded a Masorti community in 1996, and I became immediately very active. It's just my temperament. So I was in administration board, and I was president. Then we founded Masorti Europe. Again, I was working a lot, and it was my turn to be president. And it's a really something that is a lot of work, but fantastic work, and it is really, I feel, Redor Vador. Every time when in shul we say Redor Vador, I feel that we are doing this. So this is my personal part, and you asked me to speak about Masorti Europe. I don't know where will be the pictures. Okay. Well, you see, this is the complete magic with this process. So, Masorti Europe is a non-governmental organization. At present, when it was founded very young, 2006, there were 5 countries. Now there is 11 countries, and we have 23 synagogues. We meet 3 times a year, each time in a different city belonging to Masorti Europe. So there are just a few pictures that I would like to show you. Maybe so I told you that we meet 3 times a year, each time in different city. So this is one of the meetings. Okay, you can go. There is another meeting in Budapest. There is a meeting in Madrid with 2 very special persons. So maybe I will interrupt 1 second, and Ron or Mark, can you tell who is the person on the right?
So the gentleman on the right is Rabbi Chuck Simon, who is the head of the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs, which we just had the honor to be with for 4 days.
And so he is with Rabbi Wiener, who is the director of European Masorti Bet Din. Recently, we had a meeting between lay leaders and rabbis. It was a very special meeting. It was revolutionary and historic events. All the rabbis from Europe and Masorti and all lay leaders came together. For instance, lay leaders, you have Adam here, that is here, you will see. They are prominent rabbis. This person here is a rabbi, is a rabbi from Masorti Olami, from the worldwide movement, and they are people all over Europe, from Israel also. Next. Then we broke into small sessions, and you see Rabbi Florian on the upper, and other people are rabbis and lay leaders, and this is my predecessor, who was the previous president, who started it all with Rome. Here is in the morning Shacharit people in the lobby of the hotel. Okay, now, so this is about Masorti Europe. Now about our communities. Here you see community in Madrid. There is their Seder. They just moved to new facilities. There is Yom Ha'atzmaut. There is Yom HaShoah in their new synagogue, and they made a concert, Yiddish concert. What is special about Spanish communities is they are people from Argentina. So this is Purim in Valencia, in Spain. There is Seder in Almer, in Holland. There are high holidays in Alicante, again Spain. The rabbi, the person who is standing, he is a rabbi from Israel. This is a small community, does not have a rabbi. They do everything by themselves, but we provide for the rabbis for high holidays, that everybody has a community, has a rabbi for high holidays. This is Sukkot in Paris. This is one in Neve Shalom. There is one of the communities that Rabbi Shinsky is a rabbi. One is in Brussels, her town, and she also is rabbi of this community. This is Sukkot. Three Masorti communities in Paris. There is, you see Adam again.
Right there.
Yeah, and this is a festival, youth festival that they organize. This is a picture from UK. These are young people from Noam camp, which is the youth movement. In England, they have very, very well organized, fantastic youth movement, and we are trying to develop it for all Europe. But it's very slow. So this year, for instance, we sent 3 children from France to England. But everything takes time, but they organize, they are very good at this. This is exceptional event. This is the first Beit Din in Portugal since 500 years. It was this year in April. Why? Because there was an American mission that was led by Rabbi Wiener, which is the tall guy. Then there is a rabbi, very prominent rabbi from Israel. The other one. Yes. This is the young people who went to Beit Din, and this rabbi is probably somebody that everybody is familiar with his name. This is Rabbi Jules Harlow. He is the author of Sidur Sim Shalom. So it's really very, very prominent person, and they are very nice. So this is last picture. I will tell you one word about this, but I chose this picture to show you that you and us, we are exactly the same. We do the same thing, and when you will travel to Europe and come to one of our synagogues, say hello, you will be welcome, people will be happy to have you, and we are happy when welcome that we Europeans had here. It's really exceptional. So this is last picture. It's Havdalah in Nice. In fact, it was in the beach, and there was a group of young people who came to visit the community in Nice, and the young man is our rabbi. So thank you very much.
One housekeeping detail. I do ask you to either turn off your cell phones or turn them to vibrate. Thank you. So our next speakers They come as a pair, two wonderful young men who we've been fortunate enough to have as our guests this week at the International Federation Men's Club Convention, and who were nice enough to agree to participate tonight. And let me introduce them to you. They're both young enough both to be my kids, and yet mature enough to be able to teach us a lot. So first, Adam Schumberger is a leader within the Dor Hadash, the Masorti egalitarian movement in Budapest, as well as the youth movement, and Laszlo Banat, who is also a leader within Dor Hadash. So it's my pleasure. Please welcome.
Yeah, you have to be on time. So.
First of all, excuse me for my English. Mark and Ron knows what I'm talking about.
Okay. So, I don't know, like, if how many of you knew that we are twins? Since
Not
we,
me.
not we, you and we. Whether you or not, we are, because Temple Israel and Dor Hadash is now twin community. And thanks for, and first of all, thank you very much for Mark Popowski and Ron Zik that we are here. Actually, Ron Zik's name is Ron Zik because it's in Hungarian. Let you know. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having us. And yeah, as Joanna said, it's we could speak about 20 minutes that how emotional this whole trip for us. We spent 4 days in the GMC convention in Denver. That was exceptional time for us, and I just I would continue that. And of course, that you came here, like this amount of people. We just really didn't really think about that, and thank you again for coming. And now you will getting know some Irish twins. Okay, so my name is Adam Schumberger, but in Hungarian it's Schumberger Adam, and I'm a son of a rabbi, and the rabbi in Hungarian means either Orthodox or Neolo, which is something like Orthodox, but it's not Orthodox, it's a special Hungarian stream. My father is a rabbi of this movement, of the Neolo movement. I went to Jewish school, and I also, and I had like, let's say in Jewish school, like 8, 9 classmates, because even though that there are 100,000 Jews in Budapest, very few of them getting Jewish education and getting involved with the Jewish frameworks. And because of that, I started to seek my Jewish roots. I went to study in Israel for a while, and I went back to Hungary, and we started to develop a Jewish youth group, which called Margom, and this is the youth group of the Masorti Conservative worldwide organization, and we were speaking about that, of course, but before that, Laszlo will introduce himself.
Hi everyone, I'm Laszlo Bernard from Budapest, and I was not so lucky as Adam, because I grew up in the northern part of Budapest, which is a very, very bad neighborhood. And actually, I was born to a secular Jewish family, and I actually haven't known that I am Jewish since I was 10 years old. So my mother told me when I was 10 years old that I am Jewish, and it was like a shock to me. It was like some terrible thing, like a curse from the stars. What to do with that? And I couldn't really do anything with that, because in the northern part of Budapest there are no schools, there are no Jewish communities. You can do anything just to be a secular Jew, and I don't know, be afraid of those who doesn't like Jews. So so I was in this anxiety until I met Adam. Actually, when I was 15 years old, I was invited to a festival in the countryside of Hungary, which called the Valley of Art, or Művészetek Völgye festival, in what Adam with his band, because he actually has a band, with his performed the concert, and they were like, I was 15 years old, and they were like, rapping, did hip hop and reggae, and I don't know, blues in Hebrew, and I was like stunned, what? I've never met, Jewish culture beside, old books and I don't know, terrible stories from the past. So I was like stunned, and I joined the movement, or this group actually. That time it was 11 years ago. That time it was more like a group of friends or a little community. So that's my story until the majority movement.
Okay, so before I just want to continue with some kind of sociological insight about the Hungarian Jewry. That it's important to know that there are estimated 100,000 Jewish people living in Hungary, most of them living in Budapest, but because of various historical reasons, Laszlo is, by the way, Laszlo is a student of history, was a student of history because he got it in this year, but he will speak about that later. But the interest. Okay, you want.
If you want.
Okay, but the interesting thing with the sociological aspect of the Jewish people in Hungary, that most of them secular, and the 10% of this 100,000 is somehow active in the Jewish community. That means that it could be the 3-day Jews there, the people that they just visiting one or two Jewish projects or program, but very few of them active or involved in the community. They are not really volunteering. There is nothing like that Jewish philanthropy, and it's a very, very new community, and we're trying to do something out there, but still it's very hard. And of course, the young people, especially, didn't really know about, or they don't really know about their Jewish roots. They don't really know about their Jewish heritage. So there's a lot of things to do. Although we have 3 or 4 Jewish schools, but very few kids going to there. If we are comparing with the high numbers of Jewish people. So this is one of the big challenges of the Jewish groups in Hungary, to how to attract or how to involve people into the community.
We have to speak about a little bit about history, because there's a lot of things what can be understood unless you see some historical things. You see, between the 2 world wars in Hungary, there were living an estimated like 600,000 Jews, and after the Holocaust, only like 100,000 remained, or a bit more, like 150,000, but like 50,000 left. Mainly to Israel and the United States. So after the Holocaust, the communist dictatorship came, and as Joanna told you about, it was very, very similar, of course, in Hungary. There was like a contract offered to the Jews. It was like about, we will forbid anti-Semitism, and you have to forget your religion and your religious manifestations and stuff. so a whole generation, actually 2 generations, grew up without any connections, to their identity, to their own Jewish identity. So we, as we born in the 80s, we after the political changes in 1989, 1990, we are trying to somehow reconnect ourselves to our heritage, to the Jewish identity, and this is this is a very hard, very hard work, because our generation, as I mentioned, I was 10 years old, sorry, when I happened to know that I'm Jewish, so it's a very hard work. That's what we do.
And there is like another very big challenge towards the community, towards the Jewish people in Hungary, which doesn't makes our work very easy, and that is the current political situation where the extreme right really evolved in Hungary and got into the parliament in the latest parliamentary election with around 70% of the votes. This party is an extreme right party, and it's like openly racist, anti-Semite, and of course they are anti-Gypsy, which is again very important because Gypsies are what we call Gypsies, by the way, the Roma. So the Romas are almost the 7-8% of the whole population, and that party is really using the let's say the racist card. Of course, like, I won't really want to shock you with these details, but just maybe it's enough to mention that one person in the parliament wanted to make a list of the Jewish people in Hungary. Maybe you heard about that. Of course, and it's very important, and thanks God that there's a government that they, of course, condemned in the first moment these approaches. The biggest problem that they condemning, but there is nothing really like actually practically happening. Only the government is fighting, but only words. So we really expect that the societies has to do something. We have to do something. It's not only it's not enough to wait. That if someone is helping you, but we actually have to help us, and we're trying to use all of our tools to help the Jewish community and to make Jewish people, Jewish young people, Jewish students, make it somehow get easy to connect to the Jewish programs and to the Jewish heritage.
Yes. So as you see the problems, we only have a few things against racism, against so cold neighborhood in Hungary. So we are trying to somehow improve education in our community. Somehow we are trying to be trying to create discussion with other minorities, whether religious or ethnic minorities in Hungary, and try to somehow relate to our identity as well as others' identity, through cultural events, through cultural programs like lectures or roundtable discussions, and these educational events we think can strengthen the identity of Jewish people in Hungary.
It's important to know, and now we will watch some pictures about our programs, that we started this whole group around 10 to 11 years ago with a branch of people, kind of friends, that they wanted to be together, like Jewish people, Jewish young people. There wasn't any sorts of Jewish program for young people, so we started to do that. And we had our last big youth gathering, or festival as we call it, in the countryside a week ago. And and there was, we just started, we just tried to project it. So it was a week ago, and there was like 3,000 people out there from the couple of friends. Okay, so let's see the pictures. Let's go.
Okay, this is Moshe House. This is our shul. Actually, there's no time to first speak about the Moshe House, but this is a place where we are gathered. We are having our we are holding our Kabbalat Shabbat services, and we are celebrating high holidays. And
yeah, this is Hanukkah, as you see that. This is in a place that we had until this year. The name of the place was Jewry, which means seagull in the Hungarian language, and Hebrew are songs. We had this place. Unfortunately, the municipality of Budapest, who gave us it for free, they took it back. So we don't have already this place. It was a big cafeteria, and around 1 to 2,000 people came. And if you see in a year, and if you see that it was a Jewish community center, that if you see that it's the first night, yeah, it should be the first night of Hanukkah, and you can see that young people there singing together, lighting the candles. And this is like that was one of the major program in Jewry. Of course, we don't have another place. We are really working on to find another place. But of course, we will continue with the Hanukkah festivals. We have all of the 8 days a festival in the whole Jewish quarter, around 21 different places with hundreds of people.
this picture is from Moshe House again.
Yeah, as Shabbat.
This is the band. This is the band. There's another. This is the band.
Okay, the photo is took in the festival that I spoke about. That it's a festival in the countryside of Hungary. We had our 5th festival out there in that special location called Bankito, and we had in this year a very big crowd.
At least 3,000 people came, and this band is the Hagesh.
Yeah. So if
okay, this is this is the Bankito festival, and this is the fort, as I see, and this is Jewry again, as a community place. This is a Rosh Hashanah dinner, I think, with Adam and me. Okay, and this is Moshe's again. This is Sukkot. We built our own sukkah. We planned like years ago that we will build a sukkah to the balcony of the Moshe house. It's like a bit small, but we did it somehow.
Oh yeah, he's Shani. Okay. The whole group, Marom and Dor Hadash, had been established like 12 years ago in a Neolog synagogue. We are a Masorti group, but we established this whole group in a Neolog synagogue, and he is the shamas of that synagogue. And he, although that we came, of course, from the Neolog synagogue, and we have our events in other places, the shamas of that synagogue is coming even to every event. Even it is a stick in his hand that he got older, but he is there and he is always with us. Okay, this is one of our march. It's basically the march where we were sent out from the place of Shirai. So these are the people that they went out from Shirai. This is from the community place, and because there was like a big amount of people came, to bring our things to another place, to a storage room. But actually, the police is also came because it was that amount of the crowd.
They were afraid that we start a rebellion or something from the community center. Okay, this is actually me. This is one of our standard Purim program. This is a projection actually of the Megillat Esther, which we do, and actually this was Adam's idea to do this projection. We fix little cameras to the yacht, and we read loudly a Hebrew text and the Hungarian text, just for involve as many people as we can to the celebration, and we read the whole Megillat Esther in Hungarian and simultaneously in Hebrew, and we project it to the walls. It's a very hard. Actually, it's a very hard thing to do, but very nice, and very popular. This is Rabbi David Lazar, who helps me from Stockholm, who helps me with the Hebrew text. This is the same. It shows better what they can see, the wall, and that's it.
So thank you very much. That was it, the 20 minutes. So there is no other words, only thank you for having us. We are really glad to be here. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now that you've heard from Dr. Kubar and from these two wonderful people, you understand why we're so optimistic about the future of Masorti in Europe. So now I have two more distinguished individuals that I want to introduce to you. The first is Mr. Gabor Garay, who is currently and has been for a decade the Consul General of Hungary. He lives here in Boston. He's a partner at Foley and Leidner. He's the chair of the Private Equity and Venture Capital Group, and he is the recipient of the Hungarian Civilian Cross, the highest recognition that can be bestowed on a non-resident. So, Gabor.
Hungarians can't resist talking about history. We have 1,000+ years of history, so we keep on obsessing over it. And I'm going to obsess a little bit about my personal history. My parents are Jewish. I am Jewish. My mother was going to a public high school when she was young, and then from one year to the next, the religion class, which until then every child was able to go to whatever class in religion he or she worshipped in. She was no longer able to go to a Jewish religion class, and pretty soon things started to look pretty scary in Hungary. This was early on in the Nazi era in Europe, and the handwriting was pretty clear on the wall. And my grandmother, on my mother's side, and my mother decided to convert. Now these Hungarian Jews, even at the time, were totally assimilated. They would worship just like we do in a temple, but other than that, they were lawyers, doctors, professors, business people. And from one day to the other, they were no longer able to worship, practice their religion. As time went on and the war began, Hungary joined the Nazi Axis in part because it wanted to regain land that it lost in the First World War, and thought that Hitler would be able to help them. Things were pretty bad, but nobody got killed. There were certainly not nobody in Budapest got killed until just a few months before the war ended, when the governor of Hungary was called to meet Hitler. By that time, everybody knew that the Nazis and Germany was going to lose the war. He was executed, and the Nazis took over, and within a period of about 4 months, they were able to murder 600,000 Jews. They couldn't even get them all on the train. You can imagine what the train must have been like. They just herded these people onto trains that were, like cattle cars. But it was, despite the Nazi efficiency, they couldn't get it all done in 4 months. So a bunch of them, they just marched to the Danube and lined up, and they just kind of shot them and pushed them into the Danube. My mother and my grandmother were among the people that were marched to the Danube. And the classic story that people talk about in my family is that the last minute, one of the Nazi soldiers noticed that my grandmother had this beautiful fur coat, and rather than get it spoiled with blood, he asked for the fur coat and said that if she gives him the fur coat, they can go. And that's how my mother and my grandmother were let go. Ironically, the gentleman who the soldier who let them go said, "Remember my name. I want you to remember my name." And right after the war, there were trials, and this soldier was tried for having killed all these people. And he had the gall to call my grandmother and my mother to testify on his behalf. And they did. They testified on his behalf, but he killed so many other people that he was convicted and executed. So after the war, as we heard, communism came into being, and it was illegal to practice your religion. It was illegal to be anti-Semitic. And 2 generations passed, and you would think that after 2 generations of people not knowing anything about the religious background of the people around them, anti-Semitism would just disappear. I don't know how people could commit to this kind of hatred after all this time. But after the wall fell, religion was reinstated. All these totally assimilated people started to discover religion. And then there was some latent anti-Semitism in the air, but it wasn't that visible until 2008, when the economy fell apart, and where this rightist party called Jobbik, which means rightist, that until then was totally marginalized, had no representation in parliament, they could never get any votes. In 2008, they finally got into parliament and became the 3rd largest party in parliament. And everything that you hear is true. They are an anti-Semitic, anti-Gypsy party, not very subtle about it at all. And this is their way of trying to generate political support, and somehow they have been able to create or revive a level of anti-Semitism in Hungary, which is, extremely unfortunate. I represent the Hungarian government, and I keep getting from the Hungarian government almost every week letters, emails, listing all the things they are doing to try to control anti-Semitism. And being the honorary consul, I need to tell you some of those things because that's my job. Just to give you some ideas, the 4th Amendment of the Hungarian Constitution was passed, which declares that the freedom of expression may not be exercised with the aim of violating the dignity of the Hungarian nation or of any national, ethnic, racial, or religious community, and the right of individuals belonging to various communities to bring a civil action before the court because of hate speech is permitted. So that's pretty impressive. I have to give you the other side of it, which is that this was used by the government to stop a demonstration during in the midst of a Jewish demonstration where a group of far-right bikers planned to stage a demonstration in Budapest, scheduled for April 21, the day of the March of the Living, with the slogan, "Give gas."
Wow.
That was stopped. The 4th Amendment to the Constitution was invoked to stop that particular demonstration, but the idea that somebody would have the imagination to think about something like that is just extraordinary. There is a law that makes denial of the Holocaust a crime. There are lots of other rules. That speech that was given in Parliament about listing members of Parliament who are Jewish so that they could identify who would be associated with the Zionist movement in Israel. There is now a law that prohibits that kind of speech in Parliament. There are a lot of efforts at education. Next year is the Hungarian Holocaust Memorial of 2014, and there's a memorial committee that includes several Jewish organizations, the ambassadors of Israel, the United States, Germany, and Austria. And education, I think, is a very important part of this whole process. There's compulsory Holocaust education in public schools. There's a task force to improve and extend Holocaust education. There is a Holocaust Memorial Center and a Holocaust Museum, which happened to have been designed by my uncle. There's a new synagogue being built in Chapel. There was a rededication of Budapest's oldest synagogue in September of 2010. So I would say that the government is doing what it can, but at the end of the day, the question is what can the people do, and how can the people overcome what are just unbelievable traces of anti-Semitism after 60 years or however many years after the war. And it's folks like you who are part of that effort. And at the end of the day, it's not the government, but it's the people of Hungary who have to face their heritage and ultimately overcome it. Thank you.
So we met with Mr. Garay, I guess about a month ago, and we invited him to participate. And you need to understand how much I respect what he's doing. He represents the Hungarian government, and he's here being so open and honest with you, so I really appreciate it. So the last speaker is no stranger to you. You have seen him on television, you've heard him on radio, you've read interviews with him in the press. He's Mr. Rob Lykin, who is the director of the American Jewish Congress regional office here in New England. He received his bachelor's from Vassar, his master's from Columbia, his JD from Boston College. Most importantly, he has been a national leader in the Jewish community and the national civil rights movement for more than 20 years. And I appreciate very much, I believe he just drove from upstate New York, right? From a hiking trip, so he can be with us tonight. So thank you, Rob, and please welcome Mr. Lykin.
This is amazing. I'm just looking out and seeing all of you here, and what extraordinary presentations. It's true, I drove here from upstate Vermont, actually, but I really wanted to be here tonight, most of all because I'd like to learn. There are extraordinary things happening, complicated events. I think Hungary, the stories that are coming out of Hungary today are an example of that. Where you have a community that's trying to emerge after decades in which the Jewish community was decimated in a variety of ways, and the extraordinary courage that it takes to build a new community literally out of the ashes and out of the silence that was brought upon the Jewish community of Hungary and communities all over Europe. And so we're witnessing something extraordinary. We're also witnessing a time in which many of us have grown up as American Jews in what can only be called a golden age. Think about it for a second. We came out of the ashes of Europe in World War II. We saw Israel reborn. We saw an American Jewish community that in the 30s was helpless to stop the inevitable, was subject to widespread anti-Semitism, become today a powerful, accepted, and mainstreamed community. Today, when Jacob Javits was a senator, we all went, oh my goodness, we got one of ours as a senator, right? Today, we've had as many as 10, 11 members of the United States Senate out of 100 who were Jewish at one time. It's extraordinary. The idea that a Jew could have been president of Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, the list goes on and on. Impossible. Today, all of those universities have had Jewish presidents, and nobody blinks. Nobody blinks. So when we think about the extraordinary good fortune, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget that the narrative actually that exists in the world today is far more complicated. What the great achievement in the post-World War II age was that we saw democratic values and democratic ideals spread steadily. And for Jews and other minorities, that has given us something extraordinary. Safety. In an environment where all people are treated as equals, we have a certain safety against the kind of anti-Semitism, the kind of oppression that was normative in the Jewish world a century ago and much less. Today we're witnessing in many parts of Europe the development of movements which are pushing back, which are saying we want to reestablish a different norm, the norm where our societies enjoyed a certain kind of purity, the norms where our societies had a national identity which was not subject to the influence of people who were perceived as outsiders. And this has given rise to a new neo-fascist movement which has different permutations in different places, in different causes, and different reasons. But we're seeing it in Greece, we're seeing it in Ukraine, we're seeing elements of it in Hungary today, and we're seeing elements of it in other places. If you look at Germany and Poland, the story is quite different. But there you're looking at environments where it's not so much that people want to isolate Jews, it's that the notion of a separate identity within the community in the face of overwhelmingly secular societies is no longer valued. And so kashrut can easily be banned. All of these constitute threats to the Jewish community. Which brings me to a couple of points. We in the Jewish community today have to think differently. We have to understand that our circumstances are part of a set of global interests. It's no longer sufficient to say I'm part of a Jewish community of Boston or the United States. We're part of a global Jewish community. And we have to think and act that way, increasingly. AJC, as many of you know, American Jewish Committee, is a global organization. We have offices in 9 cities around the world, all the way as far as Mumbai to Sao Paulo, 4 offices in Europe. And what that means is we've been able to establish relationships with the leaders of countries around the world. And through those relationships and through the trust that's developed, we can change history, literally. And how do we change it? Because there's a perception of the force of an influential American Jewish community that's in a position to speak out and defend its interests. I can give you one example, but it's an important one, and I can only tell you about it because the person involved said it herself. When Hamas took over Gaza, there was a discussion within the European Union about what to do. And unlike many of us who are all too familiar with what Hamas is about, many people, including leadership in the EU, was not. And so there was a discussion about what to do. Do you recognize Hamas? Do you not recognize Hamas? Is Hamas a terrorist organization? Is it not a terrorist organization? And what happened was that the rotating head of the EU at that moment was Spain. And the foreign minister of Spain was a woman named Ana Palazzo. And we were able to go to Ana Palazzo, who we had a relationship with because although we were an American Jewish committee, and we're an American Jewish organization, we operate globally. And we were able to go to Foreign Minister Palazzo, who at the time was in a critical position, and explain who Hamas was. And that led to the European Union decision not to recognize Hamas, and to declare Hamas as a terrorist organization. Why can I tell you that? Because she said it publicly. Which really gets me to my final point. I have been so impressed and moved by what I've heard about the relationship that's developing with Dor Chabad Chadash and Temple Israel. I can't really conceive of anything more important. We're at a time now where we need to think globally and develop relations, not just on a governmental level, the way AJC does, but also on a person-to-person level. We have to stitch together a global community. Consul General Correa said people can change the reality. I believe that's true. But it's people who are perceived to have influence and commitment and support. And we in the Jewish community around the world can support each other. But it happens when we knit together the kind of fabric of community that isn't town to town, country to country, but it's global. And that's more and more what we need today. And I'd only modify to say that when governments see that, it moves the ticker. It changes the way policy happens. So, as I said when I started, I'm really here to learn from you and from the work you're doing. I have found your presentations extraordinary, and thank you for them. And looking forward to hearing the rest of the evening. Thanks so much.